I began to realize just how extensive and what kind of a complex there was up here and the operations behind it.
Right, and why do you think there's such an intense interest now in this particular subject?
Well, I'd say that a lot of it, some of it might be spawned by the kind of the resurgence of World War II interest that's peaked over the past 4 or 5 years. Some of it is, at least on the local level, a desire to maintain what, a little bit of history pieces that have been buried for so long, that are in danger of fading away. And another part of it is just, I think, a chance to see a part of local and international history where they clash and kind of meld together. And the chance to look at that, and for me anyway, it's a chance to look at these guys who were, were a lot younger than I am when they were here, and to take their experiences and learn what they learned, see what they've seen, and experience what they've experienced, and try to, and try to appreciate that even more.
Die ganze Zeit? Ja. Da hab ich meine Klamotten auch bei dir geholt.
This nachzusetzen.
Ja.
Okay.
Bitte schön.
Die hat Rudi mir schon mal geschickt. Die hast du mir voriges Jahr.
Okay, folks, this way, please.
Yeah.
Former POW Rudi Richter and his wife Ruth have made friends with Leland and Margaret Ludwig of Houlton. After Rudi returned to Germany to complete his education, he got a job with Texaco and was coincidentally sent back to Houlton. There he met the Ludwigs, also of German descent, and these two families have been friends for more than 30 years.
Could you describe an average day in the POW camp?
Yeah, we had to get up early, 5, 6 o'clock. Then we had our, in the barracks we had our restrooms where we had to clean, wash us and so on. Then we went down to the head count every morning, and every evening was a head count. And we had a sergeant, we called him Winnetou. He was tall as you, and he has an Indian face, and they confused him sometimes when he counted us. Somebody went from the front to the back, so he had one man more. And then after the head count, we had to go to the mess hall to have our breakfast. That was the same in accordance to the Geneva Convention as like for the American soldiers. So it was too much, what I have to say. And then we went to the gate and in certain groups, and have been moved with trucks over the farms to pick potatoes. We got a sandwich of this puffy bread, not this hard bread as we are accustomed to, and had to dig our potatoes, and we got per barrel of a potato to be collected, we got 2 cents. And we should make per day about 40 barrels, and then we had 80 cents. This money we could spend in our PX. We had in the camp a PX. We could buy cigarettes, and in wintertime we could beer, not in summertime. Then that has been used by the Americans. So we equalized the consumption. We could buy books. I have a dictionary, for example, still from Houlton, Maine, and we had to clean, certain groups had to clean the barracks, we had to fire our coal stove, and we had, like the soldiers here too, we had the beds one over the other. We had a big bag with all our private things. So far we still had private things. And yeah, and in wintertime we have been moved by trucks into the forest to cut trees. And what they want is we had to make 1 cord of wood and would be paid with 80 cents for 1 cord. And we had no chainsaws. We had these big back saws, axle, and this was sharpened every evening, and so that was our job.
We heard a story about how you met your father when you went back to Germany.
Yeah, that's true. That my parents did live in the city of Kiel, and our house has been bombed down. So they did live in a small barrack outside the city, and I used the train, and that was in winter time, January, and dark, no electricity, and somebody walked in front of me, and I didn't know where the barrack was. So I asked this gentleman.
Unbeknownst to Rudi, the stranger he approached was his own father. The two did not recognize one another after being out of contact for so many years.
If you compare Germany from before the war to after the war, how has it changed?
Oh, tremendous. This has we went from a Nazi system, which of the young people can't understand how this has been happened, to a democratic system. I could say today, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't vote for you, but I have to follow your order, but I don't like that. If I would do that before, I would went into the jail.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about?
I will tell you, I'm thankful that I have here now friends in Maine, because I like that country so much, and we are so close in friendship with the Ludwig family, that I would be happy if their children or they by themselves would come again to Germany. But we are nearly 80 now, and so that's a little bit difficult. So I would like to thank them and all the friends I have here.
And how do you think your friendship has kept the memories of the POW camp alive?
Well, I was somewhat familiar with the camp. I never knew Rudi, to my knowledge. But when I was 14, I worked for Birdseye. We had a Birdseye Snyder division of General Foods here in Houlton. And their primary purpose was canning and freezing the green pea, and for shipment outside. And Birdseye employed German POWs in the cold room and other secure locations, and I worked near the cold room, and we had a guard next to us who generally was dozing, because there was no reason to be terribly alert, because the Germans were very happy to be here as far as we could tell. But I worked beside them, and for several years, and once I was walking through the Houlton town square going to the movies or something, and at a time when they were transporting the POWs from the camp out here at the airport to Birdseye's plant over here at the railroad station, and one of the guys leaned out the back of the truck and he said, "Hey Ludwig, was ist los?" You know, and because we'd met and I'd worked with him in the canning, the freezing section of Birdseye, and knew him reasonably well.
And under what conditions did you first meet Rudi Richter?
Well, we had a call. I worked for Texaco at one time in Boston, and Texaco US. And after a number of years in Boston, I came back to work for my father, who was a distributor for Texaco products in northern Maine. And we had a call from New York one day, or my father did, saying that they had a former POW as one of their employees, and before he returned to Germany, he'd like to visit Houlton, and we'd be willing to look after him if they sent him up to Houlton. And my father had to think a long time about that, because he wasn't sure that Rudi would be such a nice guy. But of course, working for Texaco, we knew he would be. So he readily accepted. And Rudi arrived on the scene, and we've had a wonderful relationship. My father adored Rudi.
And how do you feel about this reunion?
Oh, I'd like to have a reunion like this every once a year.
Oh my Lord, the poor deer is all alone. That's the truth.
Volunteers from southern Aroostook County have arrived early at the Littleton School Museum to prepare a ham and baked bean supper for the POWs, as well as guests from the community. More than 300 people are expected at this dinner, so much help is needed.
Well, I came down this morning at 9 o'clock thinking they might need a little extra help today.
Folks in Aroostook County have hearty appetites, so a bountiful feast of homemade dishes is being prepared. Some of these women grew up on local farms, and many have fond memories of the days when young German POWs were at work in their fields and became part of their family's life.
We had several prisoners. I don't know how many we had, and my sister-in-law and I would make soup for them every day because we thought they needed something hot. And at the end of the potato harvest, we had a party for them, and they brought some of their musical instruments from the barracks, and we had a nice little party, brought them right into the living room, and enjoyed them a lot.
Many of the guests have stories to tell about their encounters with the German POWs years ago. A mobile microphone makes it possible for anyone in the audience to share these memories. These tales vary from humorous to saucy, and they're being recorded so they may become part of a local archive.
I have a picture that was dated September 1944. It's in my mother's handwriting, so therefore it has to be right. On the back is written by my father. It says, Dick and POW, picked potatoes for Leslie R. Rhoda, was an attorney before going into the Army. Had a boy at home about Dick's age, was very fond of Dick, September 1944. So there's proof that I was a farmer's son and out on the farm, but we got away from it, and this German soldier who was an attorney may have had an effect on me, as I'm an attorney now and not a farmer. So some of like that and some that don't.
Hand signals and everything else. And one day, the young German POW disappeared. And everybody figured, oh my God, he's escaped. And what happened was, the young lady had hid him in a potato house. And she stayed with him and fed him for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, the young, exhausted soldier turned himself in and asked him to take him back.
Rebels have joined the Germans at a buffet, which includes applesauce compliments of the POWs. Years ago, the Germans made hard cider from apples given to them by local farmers. Legend has it the discarded seeds germinated and grew into trees still found today at the former camp. Congressman Mike Michaud explains why reunions like this are important.
And it's good because, particularly with all the conflict around the world today over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and some of the misconception between our allies, I think this is good to just show that, yeah, we truly still are allies. They're friends, they're just like Americans. They have different culture, but overall there's a lot of warmth and good feelings here today in the Houlton region.
These people who came here as POWs, at the end, I think they were quite grateful that they came here, and they had a very positive experience. I know this from other Germans who were POWs in the United States. My father was a POW with the British forces in Germany, and they had a very positive experience at the end of the war. And they just wanted to come back. They wanted to see what the place is like now, and I think it's natural and it's also good. So they come and tell their story. It's part of history, and it's an important part of history for us all.